Welcome to this set of slides on expanded noun phrases, and we know that nouns are the naming parts of sentences. So a simple noun phrase would be a determiner followed by a noun, so determiner the, and train is the thing, the object, the noun. So some more examples: my face, his voice, knowledge. So you could have more abstract nouns as well. That's absolutely okay in noun phrases. An expanded noun phrase will give more information about the noun. So if I had, it was the air raid siren that first signalled danger, and I wanted to modify that siren, change and adapt it, give extra detail. It was the air raid siren, mournful, wailing and insistent, that first signalled danger. So noun phrases there used to add extra description. And you can pre and post modify nouns. So if a noun is pre-modified, the extra description comes before the noun. So if I had the engine could soon be heard, I've got here a simple noun phrase. I've got a determiner and I've got the noun. In the next example, I've got the roaring engine. So I've still got my determiner, I've still got my noun, but roaring now describes that noun. So roaring is an adjective, and a reminder that roaring, yes, it can be used as a verb as well, but if we think about what job roaring is doing in that sentence, it's describing the noun engine, and therefore it's an adjective. And I've seen at least one GL 11 plus practice assessment paper which asks the word class of an adjective ending in ing. So always check what job the words are doing. If the word is describing a noun, it's an adjective. So we've modified that engine into being a roaring engine. The roaring engine could soon be heard. And if the noun is post-modified, the description comes after the noun. So it was the siren that first signalled danger. After that noun, siren now, so there's my noun. And I've got a prepositional phrase there to modify that siren, to change it, to adapt it, to give extra detail. So for the purposes of this set of slides, we're going to have a look at pre-modification with adjectives. We're going to look at how those adjectives can be used as a bit of post-modification, and we're also going to look at prepositional phrases. So here's some pre-modification. So if I've got the noun sky, and what type of sky was it? Two adjectives there before that noun. It's a very common form that's used in school to modify nouns. I can post-modify though with adjectives. So if I've got the sky, here it is again, that's my noun. And this time I've put the adjectives post-modifying, so they come post the noun, after the noun. The sky, clear and blue, lay overhead. That's less common to see. The sky with its clear blue tint was spread overhead. So this time what I've done is I've post-modified with a prepositional phrase, giving more information and detail. Now you can also post-modify nouns with non-finite in clauses and relative clauses, but I'll do a separate set of slides on those. A reminder on prepositional phrases: it'll be made up of a preposition and a noun phrase. So your preposition is on, the position of something, and then I've got a determiner and I've got a noun. So a preposition phrase will be a preposition followed by a noun phrase. So on the table, with blue eyes, over the heaving ocean waves. So those are all preposition phrases. So here's an example of how we can take a simple noun phrase, and very often these type of grids are used within school to generate and to edit and to adapt noun phrases. So our pre-modification will be the determiners and the adjectives. Post-modification, we've got the option of prepositional phrases here. So I could have the rattling car. I could have the ancient rattling car, so I could add two adjectives, pre-modifying. I could have a rusty rattling car on the potholed road. And why that one's nice as you go through the process is you can see the repetition here. So you're starting to think of some alliteration, the sound of what you've got. You might like that. That ancient rattling car on the potholed road near the railway line. So much more expanded here. So as we work through that process, and you can play around with these until you've got the exact effect that feels best for you. So here's a process of evolution as we work through different ways of describing an air raid siren. So it was the wailing air raid siren that first signalled danger. It was the wailing and insistent air raid siren, so the adjectives pre-modifying. It was the mournful, wailing and insistent air raid siren that first signalled danger. So we've just extended that a little bit in the pre-modification. It was the air raid siren, mournful, wailing and insistent, that first signalled danger. And I've put plenty of examples of this type of post-modification because you do see it less, and it's a nice way to add that extra description in. So here's an example within a paragraph, and I've only just pulled out a few of the expanded noun phrases here, and they're used as functional to give information to help the reader create a picture in their mind of an object that might be unfamiliar. So by now we could see the sun shining off the glazed nose of the aircraft. Slightly further back on top of the pencil-thin fuselage was a glinting bubble of what looked like glass. We saw the two propellers on the wings. One of them was not turning. From the other propeller, a ribbon of black smoke spiralling in a thin stream curled behind the plane like the tail of a cat. "It's a Heinkel," I announced. Surprised at the calm sound of my voice, Eli looked at me in amazement. The roaring sound from the aircraft's engine increased in pitch. So examples there of pre and post modification to add that detail. So we can take another journey, and again this is what you would be doing with your writing as you're going through it and deciding what effects you want to create. Could have the shadow of an aeroplane, and I could play around with the sinister shadow, so adding some sort of a mood or a sense of threat. The sinister shadow of an aeroplane above us, so I'm starting to think about where this is. The sinister shadow of an aeroplane directly overhead, I would say that increases the threat because it's got nearer now. That shadow, dark and menacing, above our heads. So this time, by the time we've got to the end, we've decided to shift some post-modification. I know that's not a prepositional phrase there, but shifted the dark and menacing after the noun to post-modify there. If you were looking at an assessment, you might be asked these type of questions. What are the underlined words in the sentence below? The girl with curly red hair is in my class. Don't feel you've got to rush into this. I can see that girl is a noun. I know that I've got my determiner there, and I can spot the prepositional phrase. So I know that what I'm looking at there is that noun phrase. I've seen lots of examples of those, and I can break it down. Could be at the end of a sentence, but we go through the same process. We discovered the dusty, narrow pathway behind the house. So I've got a noun. Behind is a position something can be in, so there's my prepositional phrase, and I've got my determiner and my two adjectives at the beginning here, pre-modifying. So again, I'm breaking it down. I know what I'm doing. I'm confident. What's the grammatical term for the underlined words in the sentence? Well, I can see a noun. I can't see any verbs in this here, so it's not going to be a clause. A fronted adverbial. Well, I can't see the comma after that would signal it, and I have got the noun, I've got the determiner, I've got the adjective, and I've got the prepositional phrase. So it's definitely not showing any signs of being a fronted adverbial. It's going to be the noun phrase. Again, the grammatical term for the underlined words, we know that the new paintbrushes, there's my noun, determiner, adjective. So I'm looking at a noun phrase. The grammatical term again, this time at the end of the sentence, but again I've got pencil case, which is a thing, so that's a noun. I can see the post modification, I can see a determiner, and I can see an adjective and an adjective. So again, I know that I've got that noun phrase. Underline the longest possible noun phrase in the sentence. So I can see a noun phrase, the, and Romans, there's a noun. So I could say, well, that's a noun phrase. But the longest possible noun phrase would be that book about the Romans. So there's my head noun, and I've got my determiner, and here is my post-modifying prepositional phrase, that book about the Romans. Write a noun phrase containing at least 3 words to complete the sentence below. Now, a top tip here is you wouldn't want to be putting option A in. So it says I've got to go at least 3 words, and it's got to be a noun phrase. So that recognisably lithe and internationally renowned competitor, well, I'm not going to put that in there because I could slip up on the spelling. it could start to get messy. I'm making it complicated when I don't need to. It's not a test of my vocabulary. It's a test of whether I can write a noun phrase with at least 3 words. So I'm going to go for that young, keep it simple, girl. That young girl. So have I got a determiner, and I've got an adjective, and I've got a noun. So that young girl was preparing for an important athletics competition. I've got at least 3 words. That's job done. Move on. So hopefully you found that useful, and there's other resources on the Entrance Exam Tutor website, and if you are up for assessment soon, the best of luck with that. Bye for now.